Good morning and welcome to our team. My name is Tim Gould. I'm the Director of Safety and wanted to, on behalf of the company, wanted to welcome you aboard. I wanted to take a couple of minutes here and go over some of the safety policies for our company. You should have gotten an outline in your email, and it's going to kind of cover what we're going to go through quickly today. Our company is very safety conscious. We want you to be a professional driver at all times. So with that, I'm going to go over just quickly some regulatory training. I'm going to cover some of our ELD, hours of service policies, severe weather policies. We'll talk a little bit about roadside inspections, pre-trip inspections, our policies and procedures, and some general safety information for when you're out there on the road. I'll talk a little bit about our recertification program, and if at any point in time you have any questions, I want you to know my name, Tim Gould, and my phone number right here. Don't hesitate at any time to give me a call. I can connect you if I don't have the answer. If it's HR or something like that, I can get you to the people that you need to speak to. So let me go ahead and jump right into this. I know that you have a lot of documents and a lot of paperwork and stuff that you're trying to prepare for your orientation process, and this is going to be just the beginning. So in your tractors, there are some standard safety equipment that you have on board. One of them for being your fire extinguisher. Now the DOT and the CSA, when you go through roadside inspections, one of the most common roadside inspections violations that we see out there is the fire extinguisher. You know that you have a fire extinguisher in your tractor. You're probably all well aware of that. You've seen them probably many times on your pre-trips and your post-trips, and when you're getting in and out of the trucks. So one of the most common violations that we have with the fire extinguisher is that they're not properly attached. So be sure that locate your fire extinguisher. If it happens to be under the driver's seat or close to the driver's side, make sure that it's latched. A lot of times drivers could accidentally hit that with their foot. It'll pop that latch, and it's a real easy violation for the DOT to catch. So always check your fire extinguisher every day. Make sure that when you're getting in and out of the truck, that if it's near you, look at that latch and make sure that it is latched, because they will gig you for that violation. The other thing is the dash cams. We will have dash cams on board. They will be outward facing dash cams, so they're not inward facing. So we ask though that you don't mess with those dash cams, okay? They're there to protect you. The dash cam is a silent witness in that tractor. Believe me, I've seen thousands and thousands of videos, and I've been involved in thousands of accidents over my history and my career, and those dash cams really do tell the story. They're a silent witness. They tell everybody what happened. Please don't tamper with the driver cam or the dash cams that we have in the tractor. Just let it sit there, let it run. If you are involved in anything, it's there to protect you, and as you know, there's a lot of crazy drivers out there, and that will help exonerate you most of the time, unless it was actually your fault. It'll just tell us a story, but then it still tells us how we can go about closing that collision that may occur. So the dash cams are actually your friend. There's a lot of crazy people out there. Use them to your benefit. Let them alone. If there's any tampering, so this is the other side, so if there's any tampering of the dash cam, that can be grounds for termination. Okay, we don't want to go there. That's the last thing that we want to do, is to have to terminate a driver because they're messing with the dash cam. So please just let it sit there, let it do its thing. If there's something in the dash cam, we're not very aggressive on our coaching. I know some companies, they'll coach you every single day on every single event that comes through. We like to think that we're hiring professionals. So unless there's just something egregious, a video that is produced that is really egregious and extremely dangerous, something that we could see that we need to talk to you about, we will talk to you about those. But we're not going to hammer you every day with multiple dash cam videos because you had a hard brake or you had a hard acceleration. In normal traffic, that's not unusual. So we'll be moderate on our coaching. As long as you're professional in your driving, you probably won't hear a whole lot from us as far as your dash cam videos. The other thing is you have hazard lights. You know, your hazard lights, use those hazard lights. They're out there for you. Those hazard lights, the purpose of the hazard lights are there for so that you can be seen. I strongly encourage you, anytime that you go into any kind of private property, whether it be a truck stop, a customer, always put on those hazard lights. It helps you to be seen by others. Okay, that's the sole purpose of the hazard lights. It communicates that you are here, you're there, and you're moving. If you're on the side of the road, it's a law. If you're on the shoulder of a road, you must put on those hazard lights if you're stopped on the side of the road. I see a lot of trucks sitting on the side of the road. I don't know if they're taking their 30-minute break or if they're broke down, but if you're on the side of the road, put those hazard lights on, get those triangles out and lay out those triangles. If you're going to be there for more than a couple of minutes, you need to be laying out those triangles, because that's another one that I see quite a bit with the DOT violations and citations for improperly or parked on the roadway without having your hazard equipment deployed. So hazard lights and triangles. Your horn. So you're going to have two horns, obviously, on this tractor. You're going to have the city horn and you're going to have the air horn. Horns are meant to be a warning device to caution somebody if there's an element of danger. Please do not use your horn as a weapon. And I'm sure that you've seen this in your career, but anytime that you're on that horn for greater than 2 seconds, it's like giving somebody a verbal FU. That is considered aggressive driving and road rage with our company. So if we see or hear that occurs, especially it may catch on a dash cam or something like that, if you're holding on to that horn for more than 2 seconds, then that's going to be deemed an aggressive driving and potentially a road rage incident, and we're going to handle that very severely. So we don't want to escalate. There's enough, again, crazy people out there, we've all seen it, and just by grabbing that horn and staying on it, you could be escalating something that doesn't need to be occurring. So use your horn in a professional manner. Usually quick taps on the horn, you know, toot, 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 toot. Those typically are communicated as a friendly, hey, I'm here, and it's usually not considered aggressive, and most people don't recognize that as aggression, and it won't escalate. So again, the purpose of the horn is for a warning. We don't want to escalate something. I know it can be frustrating out there on the road, and you can certainly see a lot of unintelligent people there, and you want to grab those horns, but let's stay off of it. You can say whatever you want to say to them, you know, but don't grab the horn and announce it out like that, because you could just be escalating a bad situation. Moving on to the ELDs and hours of service regulations that we have for our company. Operations will be getting with you at some point in time, and they'll be going over with you specifically the particular ELD system that you will be using in your truck. So you'll be getting some individual training very specific to the particular ELD that we have in these tractors. I want to cover just the high notes of the 11, the 14, the 8-hour rule, the 10-hour break, the 34-hour recess. Hopefully all of these you're already very familiar with. Obviously the drive time, the on-duty time, the time that you need before your break, how much break that you're needing in order to reset, and of course your full week reset of your 70 hours. There has been some new laws that have come into play, especially for the 30-minute break, which is significant. So the 8-hour break, it used to be 8 hours of on-duty time. You were required to take a 30-minute break. Okay, so that's changed a little bit. This is now no longer on-duty time. It is 8 hours of drive time. So once you hit 8 hours of drive time, you're then required to take this 30-minute break. The break has also changed. It used to be it must be on an off-duty status for 30 minutes at least. It has now changed that it can be off-duty status or on duty not driving. Okay, so you can fulfill the 30-minute break as long as you're on an off-duty status, such as off-duty or sleeper berth, or on-duty not driving, to satisfy this 30-minute break. My suggestion is I recommend, because satellites, the ELDs are on a satellite-based system, sometimes there is a little lag, always go a little bit past that 30-minute break, do 32 to 35 minutes just to make sure that the satellite is pinging and that it satisfies that break completely, that you got that minimum of 30 minutes. So again, it's drive time is your 8 hour, after 8 hours of drive time, and then 30-minute has to be on duty or on duty not driving. Also with the laws, the way that the 14-hour clock is now calculated has changed a little bit. It calculates when you go off duty, it actually can stop that 14-hour clock. And of course the sleeper berth rule has changed to where it's a 7 and 3 instead of an 8 and 2. So you can satisfy the split sleeper. I don't anticipate a lot of that happening. I'm not going to go into that too much because most of the stuff that we're running is home daily. So I don't think that you're going to have a lot of scenarios where you're going to need a split sleeper or anything like that. Do always bring overnight gear. It's always a good idea to have overnight gear just in case. You will be driving trucks that have sleepers in it. Even though you have a daily route where you should be out and back every day, because of contingencies and traffic and weather and all of the different unknowns out there, it's always prudent to go ahead, have a little amount of food with you, and have something there in case you do get stuck on the side of the road due to a traffic accident or a freeway shutdown, and you have to spend the night in your truck because you run out of hours. You always want to be prepared for that. So have it just as a backup, and hopefully you won't need it, but it's always good to be prepared than to be underprepared. Okay, we do follow absolutely the hours of service rules and regulations required by the DOT and the FMCSA. We do not allow hours of service violations. That's a company policy violation if you have an hours of service violation. So in this regard, we do allow for personal conveyance, and we do allow for yard moves. This is to help you on your clock so that you're not burning drive time when you have a personal conveyance issue, and to save time on your clock when you are sitting in a yard move. It must be a yard move, which means it has to be on a customer's lot or it has to be on our lot. Those are the only two places that yard moves are allowed. Personal conveyance, again, going back to you're coming out and back every day, you're doing a regular route, you should be home daily. There shouldn't be a lot of need for a personal conveyance move, but if you are at a dock and it's lunchtime and you want to go grab lunch, we do allow you to take a personal conveyance, run down to the food store, get yourself something to eat. You must come back to the place of origin. That's the key for personal conveyance. You cannot advance the load. Never, ever advance yourself while you're on personal conveyance, okay? What that means is you can't use this if you're getting close on time and you're an hour away from your destination and you had a traffic and you got delayed, but you're running tight on your clock and you're an hour away from home. You can't go on personal conveyance to take yourself home because you want to get home. You can't do that. That's unlawful. It's a company policy violation. It's a false log. It's an extreme violation. So you can't advance yourself to your destination or origin when you're on personal conveyance. You have to start from wherever you start, your start of PC. If you go here to eat, you have to go back to the place that you started the PC and then take yourself off PC and go back on your clock when you're ready to move. Okay? You cannot advance yourself. The only one exception for that is if you are on a freeway, for example, you can move yourself, advance yourself in order to reach a safe haven. So worst case scenario, okay, again, you're out and back every day, but let's say a worst case scenario comes up and you're stuck in traffic on a freeway and you're stuck right here and it's just traffic. You can advance yourself if you want. If you see that you're running out of that clock, you can put yourself on PC. At that point, you are now off duty. Okay? You cannot go back on duty. Put yourself on PC. Take the very first exit. You can advance yourself that far to get to the very first exit in order to find some place to shut down. That may not be a good place to shut down. It may not be a truck stop. It may not be a very nice place. But you can advance yourself only to the next exit in order to shut down, in order to get a safe haven, and from there you'll do your 10-hour break, or you'll do a 7-3 split, whatever you need, in order to gain enough time to get back to your destination. This is the only time that you can legally advance yourself in your load, and it's only to that next safe haven. It will show that you go on PC, and your logs will show how many miles that you're running on PC. So if I see a 10-mile PC move, that may be reasonable depending on your location, okay? But if I see a 58-mile PC move, and it just happens to be your destination, I can see that that's an advancement of load, that's a false log, and that's going to be treated as such. So the PC is there for you. Please don't abuse it, because if you do abuse it, you will lose it. All right, so we want, again, we're trusting you as professionals to do the right thing. We're communicating you our expectations, and we hope that you will be professional enough to maintain that, not abuse that, that privilege, or we'll have to remove that privilege. Yard moves, again, same thing. It has to be on a customer yard or our yard. You can be on the yard move. You can put yourself on yard move so that you're not burning up extra time there. So the next thing is, next policy that I want to talk to you about is captain of the ship. So we're in the winter right now. You know, we've got hot weather, we've got cold weather, we've got inclement weather. So we have spring showers, we have winter storms, and we know that the best person to know what the condition of the road is you. So with our company, we have something called captain of the ship. Captain of the ship basically is saying that you are the captain of your ship, your truck and trailer. That truck and trailer, you're completely responsible for where that truck and trailer goes at all time. You're going to be held accountable for wherever that truck and trailer goes at all times. So therefore, you are the captain of the ship. You can determine when and where that truck and trailer goes because you're the captain of the ship. If there's inclement weather and you can see that that it's unsafe, and you don't feel as a professional that this is a safe place for you to be and that you can professionally drive safely and legally, then contact our dispatch, your operations center, and talk to them and let them know that you need to call captain of the ship. They're going to want information, okay, just to qualify it, but you're there, you're the best one to be able to see that. Most of the time, captain of the ship is an inclement weather issue, but it doesn't always have to be. You know also as captain of the ship whether or not you can physically move that truck and trailer based off of your health, based off of how you're feeling. Any point in time, if you're driving, especially if you have a late night route and you get fatigued, call captain of the ship. Pull that truck over and call the dispatch and let them know that you have to take a break. And it may be an hour or two break for you to get some rest. Do not keep driving fatigued. Call captain of the ship. All we ask is that you communicate it to us. Your route is one link in a long chain. And if one, as you know, the weakest link creates the whole chain. So if you're going to disturb that link, we ask that you communicate with us as soon as you can so that we can inform and communicate to the entire link of the supply chain. We'll let them know that there's going to be a delay. You may have somebody at the other end waiting for you. If you're going to be delayed, we ask that you communicate that to us. Whether if it's for captain of the ship, then I expect you to do that. Do not ever drive fatigued. It is a great way to get into an accident, to roll the truck. We've seen that happen multiple times. Get your rest. Always be prepared. If you've got a night shift, understand circadian rhythm, that 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock a.m. period, your body is naturally going to want to take itself to sleep. So be prepared for that. Have enough caffeine before it gets past midnight. Go out, get some breath of fresh air, crack your windows, do and prepare yourself to work those deep night hours if you have those kind of routes. And if you can't stay awake, I don't want to see nods, you know, when you're driving down the road, and I certainly don't want to see you driving off the road because you've fallen asleep. And micro sleeps are very dangerous, and that's the biggest cause of driver collisions, are not people falling asleep and snoring as they're going 15 miles down the road. It's little bitty micro sleeps. It's those little sleeps that you just nod off just for a second and then you come back. And that little bitty nod for just a couple of seconds is enough to pull that truck off the road, and that's where most accidents that you see, drivers driving off the road, it's micro sleep. So be prepared for that. Always be prepared for that. And if you find yourself your arms are getting heavy while you're driving and you start to kind of tuck into that fetal position where your arms are down here, you need to stop the truck, pull it over, call captain of the ship, get out, get some coffee, get a little cat nap, whatever it takes, get yourself some sufficient rest to get out there and get back on the road. Just communicate it to us, okay? That's all we're asking is communicate. There may be times that the weather is severe enough that your operations department may call a mandatory shutdown. So you have captain of the ship, but the director of operations and the operations folks too, they're looking at the big scope, and if they're seeing bad storms coming in, they may go ahead and shut down your whole lane. So be prepared for that, that there may be from time to time mandatory shutdowns for a particular lane that's being run. Okay, so another part of transportation and trucking is roadside inspections. We all know that roadside inspections are going to be coming. You've probably already been involved in several roadside inspections. All I can say is be prepared. And the best way to be prepared at any time, you never know when it's going to happen, be prepared for that inspection by doing good pre-trips. I'm sure you've heard this over and over again. For those of you that have seniority, you've probably already mastered the art of good pre-trip inspections, because you've learned that being prepared makes those roadside inspections a lot less stressful. If you do a good pre-trip inspection, then you don't ever have to worry about being pulled over and being inspected because you're prepared. At the point of your pre-trip inspection, if you see any defects on the equipment, whether it be the truck, the trailer, the tires, the brakes, the lights, immediately let your dispatcher know, okay? Let them know before you get out on the road. Don't wait until you're on the road and call it in. There are some elements of a pre-trip inspection that we can kind of say, okay, we're going to take it to the next truck stop and get it repaired. If you have trailer lights on the trailers or something really minor, you have multiple lights, but you have a couple of lights out on the trailer, your dispatcher may tell you, okay, we'll take it over to the truck stop and have them repair that. That's not so critical because you have most of your lights. So if you have one or two lights out, that's not massively critical where you can't be seen on the road. That's okay. But some, you don't ever even want to get on the roadway. Brakes. If you have an air leak, you don't put that truck and trailer on the road. Okay? If you have poor tires that won't pass an inspection, don't put that truck and trailer on the road. Contact dispatch, let them know that you have a bad tire, that you have a flat, whatever it is. If it's something that could cause you to lose control and get into a collision, don't put that equipment on the road, okay? Brakes and tires especially, that is very extreme. Don't put those on the road, because if you do get into an accident, it's something that you could have very easily avoided. It's going to be a preventable on you. And you never know when a bad tire is going to blow out or when that brake leak is going to burst wide open and you'll lock them all up and get into a collision. Communicate. Again, this is where you also have captain of the ship too, because if somebody were to instruct you to go ahead and move it down the road and it's an unsafe piece of equipment, you get to call captain of the ship on that and say, no, I'm not going to risk my license. I'm not going to risk a potential collision. I'm calling the captain of the ship. This needs to be repaired before I take it on the roadway. If you have any questions, again, there's my number. If you're talking and you and your dispatcher can't see eye to eye for whatever reason, again, there's my number. Give me a call. Ask them to connect me to connect us with safety and get me involved, and I can help mitigate whatever the situation may be. So we don't like to talk about it, but it does happen frequently in this industry, and that's collisions. Whether we call it an accident, a collision, an incident, an event, it doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. An accident or a collision or an incident, it's basically something out of the ordinary. Other than you driving down the road, your rubber meeting the road, anything beyond that where there's damage or even alleged damage that occurs to your truck, we deem that as a collision or an accident or an incident. It's all the same. Certain things need to happen when that stuff occurs, whether it be a bird flying into your windshield and cracks your windshield, it's still a collision. That's a non-preventable collision, bird flying into your windshield, but we need you to follow these particular procedures in order to cover us on that. So any kind of accident or collision in which damages occurs, please stop, call it in, let us know, and let us start taking a report. What we're wanting you to do is to be responsible by communicating it and then to take pictures. That is vitally important, because even though we have a dash cam, it faces forward. A lot of times damage can come to the side, can come from behind, and that dash cam won't catch any of that. So we need you to take pictures. Most everybody has a cell phone with a camera on it. Take pictures, take pictures, take pictures. It's very, very important. It helps to us and the insurance company and the police and everybody that gets involved to understand what happened in the event. Now, a couple of tips. Over the years, I've seen a lot of insurance fraud. Okay, I've seen four-wheelers do things to encourage a collision because we see the billboard sign saying, you know, call the Texas Hammer if you've been in a truck accident. So there are people out there that would actually target accidents for trucks. So if you ever are in a collision that involves another person, especially another vehicle, try to remember the first thing to do, get out with your camera because you're going to take pictures, get a picture of their license plate. That's what we need, the picture of their license plate, okay? Now, I want to get their driver's license and I want us to exchange information, but a lot of people, when they're trying to commit fraud, if you come out and you start taking pictures, they get nervous, they'll run from the scene. So if you get in the habit of saying the first thing I'm doing is taking pictures of the license plate of that vehicle, even if they dash on you, we've got their license plate. There's a lot of people that will get involved in collisions that don't have insurance, and it may be their fault. Again, the first thing we do is take a picture of that license plate number. If they do dash and run, we've got their license plate. They're going to be charged with leaving the scene of an accident. It's going to be a non-preventable on your side. So do everything you can to cover yourself whenever you're involved in a collision with another vehicle. From time to time, there may be, maybe you've even experienced this before, is that people will claim that you hit them. Even though you know you didn't claim that you didn't hit them. They'll say that you rolled back on them or something. Those tend to be very questionable, and a lot of them can be a fraudulent claim. So whenever somebody comes out and says, hey, they're flagging you or flashing you, and they won't try to get you to pull over, and then they say, hey man, you rolled back on me, you hit my car, or you made contact with me in some way, even if you know they didn't, even if you know that you didn't hit them, get out and start taking pictures, and especially take pictures of their vehicle and where they said that they made contact or you made contact with them, however the case may be. Take pictures all the way around your tractor and truck. Don't give me close-ups, okay? I can't see perspective when you send me a close-up. Just take me a picture of the sides of your truck, the back of your truck, the other sides of your truck. These cameras are good enough that I can actually zoom in and see if there's any damage. So give me wide angle shots and try to make it completely around 360 degrees. Same with their vehicle. They said that you rolled back and hit the front of their car. Give me a picture of the front of their car. That is really, really important, and I'll tell you why. I've had claims before where drivers have been in this situation and it's been a rollback and they bumped the other car behind them, is what was claimed. The driver failed to get pictures of that other vehicle. Now he said, I looked at the vehicle, there was no damage. I didn't take pictures. When we got the pictures from the insurance company, the windshield was smashed, the front end was smashed. It looked like the person took a baseball bat to their vehicle. The problem is, I don't have any pictures to show that we didn't do that damage. I've got an insurance claim, and now I have a lot of damage, and of course they're claiming an injury as well. So always take pictures, even if there's no damage. Take pictures to secure the fact that there's no damage, or the damage is this amount, in case they come back with a baseball bat and claim a lot more damage. We've got pictures to substantiate how much damage was actually on the vehicle. It's very important and can really help both you and the company. So report it. In an emergency, always the priority is 911. Okay, if you're involved in any kind of collision, the very first priority is when in doubt, call 911 and report any kind of accident first. After we've reported it to the emergency EMS, then you can contact your dispatcher and let them know. If you get involved in a collision and the person isn't going to be cooperative, a lot of people are scared of truck drivers. I mean, we have these big, huge vehicles, and it can be very intimidating. And so they may not want to get out of their vehicle. They may roll up their windows and stuff and not communicate with you. Even though the law requires us to exchange information, they may not. Simply because you're a total stranger. They're already adrenaline pumped and kind of in shock because they're involved in a collision, and they don't really know what to do, so they just kind of lock up. If you get that situation, don't worry about it. Call 911. Have an officer come to the scene. Take a picture of their vehicle license plate in case they do bolt on you. But other than that, just go back into your truck, contact 911, let the law enforcement come in. They will get the information from that driver. They'll get the information from you, and we'll be able to exchange information in that regards. All right, so don't worry, because again, some people can be very frightened and can be very skittish. It's not necessarily anything personal. Defensive driving. All right, the other thing is just defensive driving techniques, and then we're getting close to wrapping up here. So there are two major elements that we see out here today that are non-professionals, bad habits. Okay, following distance is one major bad habit. So I want to share just a little bit of a tip here, and you may know this already. Hopefully you do, but I find that a lot of drivers don't know. So we're on a lot of highways, and a lot of the highways look like this. So this is 2 lanes, both going north. And on this we also have a service entrance road. And they kind of go like that because they have that little arrow thing. Alright, so best way to measure your following distance. There's a couple of ways to do it. If I ask you how do you calculate your following distance, you can tell me right off the bat how you do that. A real common way is the 4-second rule. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. You wait for a car to hit this point here, and then you start counting 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, and you can kind of gauge where that following distance is. That's one very, very common method. According to the driving manual, it says that you need to have 1 car length for every 10 miles an hour. Now, I always thought that was really odd because now you're asking me to be able to measure a car length while I'm driving. And if you think about it, we got Mini Coopers all the way up to these, F-250s. So the vehicle lengths are extremely versatile, and so what's a car length? There is actually a way to measure that, and it's become quickly my favorite way to measure car length. You can do the 4-second rule. That's valid. That still gives you a good idea of where your spacing is. But an easier way to do it, and you can do it kind of at a glance, is to look at these little white lines. Believe it or not, there is a logic and there is a reason for these white lines that are in the roadway. The space from this white line to this white line, right here, that space actually measured is what the DOT consider 1 average car length, right here. So you can actually know when you're driving what your distance is simply by looking at how many white dashes are between you and the car in front of you. For example, if I'm going 60 miles an hour, this guy is way too close because we can see 1 car length between this car and the truck. So simply by opening yourself up, by looking at these white dashes, you'd put yourself 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The truck should have this much space right here. He should be down here. This is the same 4 seconds if you were doing the 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and 3 Mississippi. Now, a lot of times when you're going at this speed of 60 or 70 miles an hour, it may be kind of hard to see and count these lines because they're moving. But what you can see is you can tell the difference between 3 stripes and 5 or 6 stripes. You can see what's a little versus what's a lot. So, and a lot of times you may get lucky and there's little reflectors. And typically, these reflectors are every other stripe. Okay? So if you are on a road and you see the little reflectors, you can't see all the stripes, but you can see these little white reflectors, you can count that by 2. So you can see 2, 4, 6. There's my spaces. And it would be right down here too. 2, 4, 6. There's my space. So look at that. Look at the markers on the road, they actually are there for a purpose, and it's not just for dressing and to show the lane delineation. They do have a spacing logic between it. It's a very easy way to quickly be able to assess, because you're looking out there on the road anyway. Look down, how many stripes are you seeing? Are you seeing 3 and you're going 70? You need to start backing it up until you start seeing multiple. Your eyes will actually begin to adjust, and you'll be able to glance very quickly by using this practice. You'll be able to gauge that spacing distance. Very easy, very effective way. Following distance is probably one of the biggest mistakes that people make out there, is that they follow too close, and of course the problem is you don't have time to react. Your reaction time, then you're having a hard brake and hard stab. The brakes, that makes the camera go off, and it'll show that tailgating. Anything other than legal following distance of 4 is tailgating. It is, you know, we call it following too close. The DPS call it following too close in their citation, but it's what it is. It's tailgating, and it's a dangerous thing. This space in between your vehicle, that's an airbag. Just like you may have airbags in your tractor, this airbag right here, this distance right here, that's controlled by you. Now I know cars will come in here. We know that, okay? But cars are also very predictable. And if a car comes into your space right here and he sees this much space between him and the next car, his natural inclination is to go and close up that space, because he wants to be right here. Because everybody wants to tailgate. They don't want another car to come in. So don't worry if somebody cuts into your space, because what they will do is they'll accelerate up. And when he does accelerate, he's reestablishing your space. So you'll find that if you're having good proper following distance, you'll find that you're not on the brake quite as much. You're not having to worry and really concentrate on those tail lights, because when you are tailgating, you have to look at the tail lights, because you don't have enough time you haven't given yourself enough time to brake. You have to manage yourself by watching those tail lights. And that's very unpredictable, which means this stranger right here that you don't know, you're putting your entire life, your family's life, and their safety as far as their financial stability, you're giving all of that power to this guy, this total stranger right in front of you, because you're following too close. Back off, manage that space. You'll find yourself a lot less stressful. You'll enjoy your drive much more, and you'll be more in control. So open up, use this airbag in front of you, so that you don't have to use the airbag inside. Remember, this airbag in front of you keeps you out of accidents. The airbags inside your vehicle, they're only there to hopefully protect your life in the event of an accident. So the wisest airbag to use is the one between your bumper and the bumper of the car in front of you. Use that airbag in that following distance. The other thing that we have really bad out there is speeding. A lot of speeding out there. People don't pay attention to the speed limit, other than to say I can go 5 or 10 miles to whatever's posted. That's not the law. The law is that's the speed limit, the maximum limit for a vehicle. So that's another great way to manage your following distance, is just go the speed limit, because so many people don't anymore. If you go the speed limit, cars will constantly be pulling away from you. So they're constantly they may cut in front of you, but they're going to zoom ahead because they want that extra 5 miles or 8 miles or 10 miles an hour. They're constantly going to be pulling away, and that's what we want. We want traffic to be pulling away from us. As a defensive driver, you always want traffic to be creeping away, because they're establishing that airbag in and around you. They're constantly moving away from you. That's where the professional driver wants to live. If you're in heavy traffic, you can still do the same technique. I do it every day, coming and going to work and coming from work in rush hour traffic. I still do that. I just stay 1 or 2 miles an hour slower than whatever that speed of traffic is. So I can manage that space, and even though it's going at 35 miles an hour, I may go 33, just to establish that I'm getting through traffic. I'm going 2 miles an hour less. But I have a constant airbag in front of me too. And as you know, in rush hour bumper-to-bumper traffic, there's all kinds of inconsistencies when people are braking and people are going to try to cut in and all that. So it's only logical that I want as much space in front of me as I can to prepare for those contingencies. It also gives me the ability to now look ahead of that tail light. I can look further up ahead, and I can see the dynamics of what's happening in the traffic, so that I'm better prepared. Is it going to be opening up? Is it going to be closing up? Is there construction or whatever, or lane closure? I can now look that 14 seconds that Smith's system talks about. I have the ability to look out there because I don't have to look right in front of me waiting for that red light, those brake lights. Okay, the other thing I wanted to tell you about, another place of challenge that I see in a lot of videos over the years are these merges. As you know, trucks tend to be in the right lane, and we tend to, so we're usually right there where these on-ramps are coming. So I've seen a lot of trucks and drivers get in conflict whenever they come up to a merge. I know a lot of drivers don't like being in that right lane because you have oncoming traffic. So I want to share with you a little tip how to manage this space right here. You're going to have vehicles coming on an entrance ramp. You have the legal right of way, right? Because you're on a roadway that's moving. They're coming on from an on-ramp, so you legally have the right of way. It doesn't mean that you can just do whatever you want, okay? Because you're a professional driver, you're held at a higher standard. So it's a little bit of a challenge that even though you have the legal right of way, if you can safely move over here to avoid this area, then do so. Don't cut off cars in order to do so, because you're going to cause them to hard brake and create a backlog behind you of potential collisions. So don't just jump over there. If you're coming up far enough, you can move over safely and prepare for that. That's fine. But there's going to be plenty of times that you are going to be in this situation, that you're in the right lane, and you've got a car coming on to, or even a truck coming on to the interstate. Back off when you need to back off. Don't back off when you don't need to back off. And this is how you know when you're going to need to back off and when you don't need to back off. If your vehicle can pass this vehicle coming on 100% from here to here, if you can get past them by the time they're at this point, this little V right here, there's your marker, okay? This V on the on-ramp right here, they usually have a nice long V. If that vehicle, if you can get your vehicle completely past this point, and you've completely passed them, then you don't have to back off. But if you're coming from down here, or you're even right here, and you see a vehicle right here, you're not going to be able to pass this vehicle completely by the time that you're at this V. If you're not going to be able to pass this vehicle 100%, by the time you reach here, then get off your accelerator, open up the gap, and let them come on, okay? That's how you manage these. And if you do that regularly, you're going to find that you're not in a lot of conflict. You're not going to have a lot of that, oh, he's going to slow down, he's going to speed up, and I'm getting into that conflict of you're burying this guy alongside your trailer by the time he reaches this point right here. He doesn't really have a place to go, all right? So drive professionally, drive defensively, drive with anticipation. If you can pass that vehicle 100% by the time that they reach that V, you're up here, then you don't have to back off. But if you're in the middle of this V, back off, let them up, because they're going to try to find some space to come in here and avoid that conflict. So just kind of look at that. You can tell by the speeds, I'm not going to be able to get past them, so I'll just back off a little bit. And I'm not even talking about braking. I'm just talking about getting off the accelerator. Get off that accelerator, they'll come in, and you can then negotiate that entrance. Okay, so that's my points for defensive driving. You'll get some more from time to time. You'll get information from your dispatch that I'll be pushing out. So in the event of a collision or a log violation, we have something called a safety recertification program. And that is basically any time that something unsafe has occurred, whether it be a preventable accident, whether it be a log violation, if there's been some kind of safety event that could have been prevented or could have been avoided, we're going to ask you to go through our safety recertification program. And that basically it may be videos, it may be counseling from your driver manager, your operations people, it may be counseling with me, so it may be verbal coaching, maybe videos. We're going to ask that you complete that every single time, because we want to document that we are a company that's safety conscious, and any kind of safe event, we're going to answer with some training. It's not punitive. It is for your benefit, because we don't just select dumb videos. We're going to select things that are appropriate, and it's hopefully help you become an even better professional. Things do happen out there. We understand that. We don't ever try to target a driver for termination. Believe me, that's not the business we're in. We couldn't run a business without drivers. But we also know that additional training needs to be done from time to time. And if there is an area that you know are slightly weak in, then that's what we're here for, is to help build and guide that training so that you can become a better professional. That's safe for you, that's safe for your family, it's safe for us as a company. The recertification, we do ask you that you complete that immediately. And depending on the severity of the event, we may not allow you to be back driving until it's completed. So just get with your operations department and they'll pass on whatever the training is that we're going to be requiring. Other than that, your dispatcher will be getting with you. You should be hearing from operations to do some further training about any kind of PPE or hazmat or any particular specifics to your route. They'll be taking you through the ELD training. HR, maybe you've already talked to them. If not, they'll be getting in contact with you with anything regarding benefits and everything like that. Again, my name is Tim Gould. I'm the Director of Safety. Please feel free to reach out to me if any questions that you may have. And I want to welcome you aboard to the company, and I hope you have a great career with us. Thanks.